Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge and the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the Hewlett Packard Houston Open. This is my best value play show, or before the lock, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to go over, of course, we're going to sift through all the guys that are 7,000 and below. I've got guys identified that I like. We're going to talk about them. We're going to look at ownership projections. We are going to go over my prize picks for the first round. Whether everything you need to know before you lock in those final DFS lineups or any bets. And with that said, let's do this. Okay, so first let's talk about prize picks real fast. Again, if you don't know, I've been working with prize picks and promoting them, and a little bit is for our community. And why is that? Because anything that you guys end up logging in and using my promo code, then we get a spiff back, and I am going to pass that on in a kind of prize promotions, giveaways to you guys for the Masters. Haven't figured out exactly what I'm going to do, but just to let you know, that is where those dollars will go. And hey, it gives you guys an opportunity, as I was talking about before, to diversify your little funds that you are putting into fantasy. And I think this is one way that you really do have a little better odds. It's depending on how you do it, but it's a little simpler. That was easy to say. It's a little simpler than, of course, going against the multi-mass entry GPP DFS lineup. So with that said, if you have not signed up for prize picks yet and you are interested, use my promo code. They're going to match you dollar for dollar up to 100. And what do they do here? It is simply a projection. So they're taking pretty much what Vegas is putting down as a projections for either fantasy score or how many birdies. They're even doing greens and reg, fairways and reg. I'm going to stick with fantasy score. What is that? Ultimately, that's what they shoot for their first round. And with that said, let's get into who I'm picking. So this is a tougher course. I don't know how much, Vegas looks into these things. So I think we got a little bit of an advantage here. Now, I could be wrong. Everything shakes, but they've got the over-unders on a lot of these guys that they are putting forward at 68. And if you look at the first round of last year at Memorial Park, only 15 players shot a 68 or better. The best round was actually by Snedeker, shooting a 65 out of 132 players. So the odds that if I had my way about it, I'd probably bet out, pick probably all overs, which is very rare typically, but it's knowing the course. And also they're supposed to get some weather, as in wind in the afternoon. And so what you're going to notice is Sungjae M, Koepka, and Hatton are playing in the afternoon. Of course, they also are not going to have those fresh greens. And you can see here, Matthew Wolf's got a morning tee time. So they got the fresh greens, less wind, and they got Matthew Wolf at 68.5. So I'm going to take the under on Matthew Wolf, hope that he can shoot in a 68 or better, and then just hope that M, Koepka, and Hatton shoot a 69 or worse. And, you can sit there and say, well, it's a par 70, but it is a tough course. And again, you can go back and look at historical information of what happened here last year. Now, again, you could go, I also was looking at the birdie side. They got the birdies set at 4 birdies or better. And I was kind of interested in taking, but they got to do 5 birdies. You got to pick, and again, you got to pick an over on that. So if you're going to go that side, I'd go Matthew Wolf, I think Burns, and maybe even Cam Smith on the under for the birdies. And then maybe Patrick Reed, or I was looking at Adam Scott, maybe even Leishman for the over for the first round. So gives you a couple options, but you also don't have to pick 4 guys. I do it because I like the 10x multiplier. You could just go ahead and throw in 2 and get your kind of like double up your money. So, you have that way of going. Okay, enough about prize picks, but check it out. If you do, and you put any kind of dollars in, use my promo code. That way there I could take the spiff and give it back to the listeners. All right, here we go. Again, I've did on my pick show and also on the preview show, talked about the comp courses. I'm just bringing this up one more time to let you know as we go through the value plays, I will be referencing these courses to see how they did there because, we have only 1 year of real data at Memorial Park from a stroke gain analysis. And also, I'm a firm believer it is one more check mark to help you kind of say, yeah, I'm actually, I was thinking about this guy. And then I saw how he did on the comparable courses and did well. I'm putting him in my lineup. So, all right, with that said, let's go jump over to Fantasy National. Let's go look at some of the bottom dwellers and figure out the guys that we want to play because there's a lot of guys at the 10 and 9,000 range that we're going to be interested in, as I already showed. So we're going to need to find the guys. And it's probably the hardest part of doing predictions, or, is the guys that are 7,000 below, finding the guys that are going to make the cut and maybe even top 20 or better. All right, let's go. Okay, so over in Fantasy National, and again, my quick infomercial is if you've not used this tool and you are doing your own golf analytics and research, I highly recommend it. That's what they specifically focus on, and everything you could ever want to know is here. There's so much within this tool. I probably use 60 to 70% of it. But anyways, with that said, what are we going to be looking at? This is kind of what they call a sneak peek or a dashboard. And what is this? It's a mini model that you can build to look at your players at a kind of more focused level. So I'm looking at ball striking approach, driving distance, 200-yard out proximity, and putting from 25 feet out. I've kind of went over why these things. So if you haven't checked out my preview or the pick show, please do so. And of course, birdies gained. All this information is looking over the last 12 rounds. So most guys, it would be 3 tournaments. I like to keep the most recent data. And then also over here, you've got recent results, their past 5 tournaments they played, how they've done, and of course, how they've done in tournament history at this event. And the one thing I want to call out again is that this event was only played once, actually in 2020. I'm not sure why the date or the year is incorrect. At Memorial Park. The rest of this would have been at the Golf Club of Houston. Okay, which, as I mentioned, is not a bad comparable course. So, and also you're in Texas, and you also have the wind. So probably a lot there. I have no filters on, just so you know, if you ever do use this tool and you want to get into even deeper analysis, you would pull in some of this stuff. The problem is once you start clicking on these things, like, hey, I want to know Bermuda, par 70, over 7,400 yards, because that matches what these guys are playing, you're going to get a small data sample and you're going to get an old data sample. So that's why I just like to keep looking at, hey, I'm not so concerned how they struck the ball when there was Bermuda greens. I'm not so concerned if it was a par 70 or 72. I just want to know how are they doing the things that I want to see over the last 3 rounds. Okay. With that said, the first guy that I think is interesting, I already gave out Keith Mitchell. He was actually my top 15, so he's at 7,000. I think he's a great play at 7,000, so I just want to make that note. Of course, also with my picks, literally I released my top plays, and I think right after that it was announced that, of course, Carlos Ortiz is withdrawn. He has a shoulder injury that I think he's had for a bit that he's been playing through, and he finally, because, he was going to be the defending champion here. So for him to pull out, it must have been something that they were a bit concerned with. So I think he's going to take the rest of the year off and come back, start of the new year. Also, you had Emiliano Grillo withdraw. I have no reasoning why he withdrew. It's probably a good thing because I was picking him and I would have been playing him quite a bit. And with Emilio, either it's going to go really good or it's going to go really bad. And so that kind of removes that whole thought process. So with that said, I think I'm plugging in Streelman to replace him. And I think I was thinking either Adam Scott or Joaquin Niemann to fill in for Ortiz. So just to give you those 2 picks back, if you're curious on who I would be substituting out, that's the guys that I was looking at. Okay. Luke List. Why are we looking at Luke List? So, of course, Luke List does the things where he's got the pop off the bat, so driving distance, pretty accurate with it. He does everything from a stroke gain analysis for the last 3 rounds that I like. Of course, putting is the issue, but you can see outside of 25 feet, he actually ranks 36 out of this field of 132. And then if we go look at probably, like I said, what I think is more interesting is just look where has he done well in the past. Of course, he can handle himself in the wind. And you can see the issue is the putter. As I mentioned, everything else is, tee to green is solid, gaining on the field when it comes to that. And when I click on position there, what that does is pull out his best finishes. Of course, he won a while back on the Corn Ferry. Had a good showing back in 2018 at the Honda, which is a par 70, but less than 7,200 yards, but is a tough track. I think it's also somewhat comparable. You're talking a 200-yard difference. Of course, they've got quite a bit more water there, but you've got to be able to play really well tee to green. And you can see also it is a Bermuda green, and he actually gained 5 strokes. Now, again, that's a long time ago. I'm just saying it has happened. Sanderson Farms, which I think is between Valero and Sanderson Farms, I think those are the top 2 comparable courses that add weight the heaviest. And he had a second there again way back in 2016. The Shell, which is the Houston Open, just so you know, but it was played on a different course. He had a third. And where else? The Barbasol, wouldn't really consider that, but Wells Fargo, just a big boy course, Quell Hollow. I do have that is also comparable, and that is Bermuda, and that was just back in May, so it's good to see. And he also gained with the putter on that track, and that's what it comes down to is if he does gain with the putter. Also, he had a good showing just recently at the Zozo. We don't have any stroke gain data for that. And I'm going off the top of my head. So that was a par 70, less than 7,200 yards. But again, it's a decent track. You can see scoring relative to par is difficult. Hitting fairways could be difficult. So, you could also put a little bit of weight into that. All right. I think that's enough on Luke List. You can see other people's on him, almost 11% projected ownership. We are going to go over ownership here after this. Joseph Bramlett. So you can see he's not been doing too hot. And I'm going to give you my top 5 guys of this, but I'm just giving you guys that you can think about. But you can see from a modeling perspective over his last 3 tournaments, he's still tee to green elite. He's got his most distance on the field. From 200 out, he's awesome. Approach, ball striking, not too far off from like a Neesmith or a Hendrik Norlander. It's just when it gets around the green or on the green, it's just been bad. He has played in this event and made the cut both times, so he's got that going for him. And then we'll just go pull up some more information on Mr. Bramlett. I was expecting a little more out of him when he came, got his card back, and he had a win on the Corn Ferry not too long ago, and then it's just kind of not went that great. But we can look at Sanderson Farms again, which I think is a good comparable. He did make the cut, had a 58, and again with these guys down here, we're not looking for world beaters, right? We're looking for guys to get a 6 of 6 through. And again, this is all looking at, of course, GPP DFS plays. You probably don't want to play these guys in a cash game. Maybe plug one in, but you probably want to make a more even, kind of lineup. Here's the tournament I was talking about back in September that he won, the Corn Ferry Championship. He had a 7th at the Byron Nelson, which simple track. Nothing I would say you could compare. I believe what was that TPC Craig Ranch? Yeah, so that they torched that course. Let's see here. What else we want to look at that might help us want to play Palmetto? That was a longer track. It was also Bermuda. It was that kind of like US links kind of course. So that's, you could say, okay, that's a positive. You can see Valero, he had a 34th back in April. And I think, again, my top 2, I mentioned Sanderson Farms, which is CCA Jackson, and then Valero, they play at the TPC San Antonio. Both, they're not par 70s, but very similar in yardage, Bermuda. And then even how the course kind of plays, it's older designed, tree lined. It's in front of you, but, you got to be able to hit the long irons, hybrids real well. Okay, there's Sanderson Farms, shows up again with a 44. Sanderson Farms, so he's played Sanderson Farms quite a bit. So I like Bramlett. I think you could definitely do worse. And he's at 6,200. Projected ownership is less than 3%. So if he does get you through and get you a top 30, definitely you have gained on probably the field on other lineups. Tom Hoagie, so I think he lives in North Dakota, but he did go to Texas Christian University, so he has some Texas ties. Just want to bring that up. If we look at current, form, not too bad. Shriners, easy course. The CJ Cup, he had a T32. The Zozo, a 17th, and then Mayakoba just recently a T56. The birdies, are in the green, so that's good. He's making birdies. Pretty strong. Everything is kind of green to, so, top, either he's top 50% or top quarter. So approach has been great. I like Tom Hoagie, actually, funny enough, in Showdown. If you need a guy to plug in at the bottom, he just will have one of those go off rounds, typically on a Sunday. So just a side note there. Let's go click on Mr. Hoagie and see what we see. So on putting his splits, he is not positive on any of them. But his best worst surface would be Bermuda. And we can see that's typically where we struggle. A little bit off the tee, a little bit with the putter, but really good with the irons. And let's just go see where he's done his best work. There's Mayakoba, short course, the Sony, Islands. Trying Trying to see if there's anything. There's Valero, but that's way back in 2016. Valero again recently. I think that was what kind of pointed me at Hoagie's direction. Um, I like guys that have done well at Valero. Like I said, if Corey Connors was in the field, I'd be all over him. It was like kind of the first guy I thought of. I was kind of bummed that he's not playing in this tournament. Just trying to see anything else sticks out. I wouldn't say. I mean, Arnold Palmer at Bay Hill. You got Sanderson Farms back in 2020 of October. Sanderson Farms again. So, again, some comparable courses he showed up at, and of course, like I said, he does have Texas ties. Now, he wasn't born there and he doesn't live there, but did go to Texas Christian. So, and if you're thinking of guys, if you want, just off top of my head, of course, Scotty Scheffler. You've got Ryan Palmer, Dylan Fratelli, Kramer Hickok. Then you've got Munoz, who played, and Carlos Ortiz. They both played at North Texas. Just kind of go off top of my brain. If you are just trying to, pick some guys that are local, that's not a bad thing. Even Roger Sloan's presser, I watched that. He lives not too far away. Been there for, I think, about 15 years. He went to UTEP. And he's only played the course once. That was the previous year. And I think he was playing it just to get some practice in, but I don't think he even made he was like an alternate that did not make it. So he doesn't have a lot of course history. I looked at Sloan and, I'm not going to point you in that direction, but I'm just giving you the information and you can do whatever you want with that. All right. Henrik Norlander, kind of mentioned him, right? I mean, I always said there's certain players that the model just always loves because they are good ball strikers. They're just not good with the putter and typically not good scoring. Now you see his driving distance isn't there, but everything else is. He's been playing pretty solid. I mean, I've been on him here or there when I want a ball striker. And you could, definitely play him again. I, might sprinkle him in here or there. You can see he's played here in the past. He missed the cut at Memorial Park, but made the cut both times in the past at the Country Club of Houston. Might be the Golf Club of Houston if I want to be specific. We'll go click on Norlander and just take a quick gander. So really similar to Hoagie, he doesn't really gain on the field with the putter on any surface, but his best surface over his career has been Bermuda. Can handle himself a little bit in the wind. And it's the putter, as I mentioned, off the tee, again, just so you know, probably a lot of that is distance, probably not so much accuracy. As you saw, he just doesn't have a lot of pop in his bat. But typically, he's really good tee to green. Best showing recently would have been at the Farmers. Of course, that was where Patrick Reed won. And like I said, if they only played Torrey Pines South, it would be a good comparable. This is what made me interested was his showings back to back at Sanderson Farms. I think, again, not going to just keep beating that, but I think that's a really good comparable course. Wells Fargo, you could hang your hat on that. There's Palmetto that we talked about recently. You scroll down a little further. Sanderson Farms again. So if you remember, play Henrik Norlander when we get back to the Chicken Open. I don't even know. Yeah, he had a fourth this year. So, all right. The next guy we're going to land on is Seb Straka. Of course, he's had a good history in this tournament. I'm going to tell you right off the bat, that's a bit of why I'm talking about him. I do believe in, of course, horses for courses. He's also been playing a little better, right? So he had that really good showing at the Olympics. Kind of fell apart, I think, if I remember right, on Sunday. I think he actually led at one time, maybe Thursday or Friday. If it was Thursday or Friday, I don't even remember now. But, seeing a little life, right? He's trending at T66, a 51st, a 33rd. Again, some easier tracks. So, I make that. The ball striking has been a little bit off over the last three. But you can see driving distance still up there, top tier. Good from that long distance. And funny enough, good with the putter when he's 25 feet or out. Again, why we're looking at that, it's very large greens. And typically that's the first putt these guys will be making is, outside of that, real good birdie range. Let's go click on Mr. Seb Straka. Funny enough, he does his best damage on POA. Bermuda's is worse, but it is like so minute. You could call that neutral. Can handle himself in the wind. If, we get a little wind here, which it does look like we will have a little wind. We'll go over that here shortly. And then I'll just go ahead and click on position to see where he's done his best work. Funny enough, the Houston Open. I want to pull up. I just want to confirm because this thing. So it's funny enough that is showing Memorial Park for those stats. So I mentioned he had a good showing here last time. Rocket Mortgage, not too bad. I mean, that's bent greens, but it is an old kind of style between the trees. Let's see. I believe it is a par 72. Let's click on Rocket Mortgage. Yeah, pull up par 72. But yeah, around 7,300 yards probably in distance. All right, let's go scroll down, see what else we see. Nothing else really catches my eye. There's Valspar. I think that's not a bad comparable. I'll put that in. But that was back in 2019. So really a bit of it would be off what he's done at Sanderson Farms, a little bit what maybe he did at the Rocket Mortgage, what he's done here in the past. Also, I want guys down in this range. I'll just let you know the narrative that I'm going with is you're not going to get the complete golfer. That's why they cost less than 7,000. So I want one skill set that's elite, and the one skill set that I want elite for this course, of course, is distance off the tee with some accuracy, but I'm not as worried about that. So that's what I'm going with, and hope that the putter does pop a little. I already mentioned Neesmith, the guy, as I stated, he's just a terrible most of the time short game putter. But the model typically loves him, and you know, kind of on and off, right? It's either a miscut, a 14th, a 48. You know, he's making some birdies. We'll go click on Neesmith for you too, get you some quick info. So the putter is the problem. Not terrible in the wind. You can see approach is typically where he does his work. Last time he's actually had a nice solid round was at Shriners, but you know, such an easy course, kind of a scoring fest that it's really hard to get a lot. The waste management was the last time that he would have showed up. So funny enough, you know, and that's, I look at that course as kind of wide open, you know, not tree lined. You know, what I'm going with that is some guys, when there's trees going down the fairways, they maybe struggle a little more than when, you know, it's wide open and they can just kind of let her go. Had a pretty good showing at Sanderson Farms back in 2020 of October. There's Valspar, Genesis. So he's handled some of the bigger boy courses, not too bad. Valero. Yeah, so I mean, there was actually some things here. Palmetto that could lean you towards Matthew Neesmith. So someone to give consideration to. Bronson Borgoon, funny enough, I'm not a big Bronson Borgoon fan, but I did start to see some things with him where, again, on big boy courses that he handles himself and at 6,200 and really low ownership projection. You can see, you know, he is positive in the birdie field. You know, recent results, you know, he's made 3 out of the last, well, I take that back. So these two are Corn Ferries. So we're not going to count that. But he's made, you know, the Fortinet at the Safeway, but missed the cut at Sanderson Farm, which makes me a little nervous. But he has played this tournament 3 times, once at Memorial, but he had a T13 in 2020. At 2008, he had a 24th. And if we go to Bronson Borgoon, he typically does okay on bent, but really it's kind of a neutral putter on all surfaces. You know, wind shows up as not maybe the greatest. If that happens, you see pretty good on approach. Around the green is where maybe it dips a bit. Let's go see where Mr. Borgoon, Corn Ferry, John Deere. That's a while ago. So there's that Sanderson Farms. That's 2019. He had a 6. There's Valspar. So that was just recent, this past May. Pretty good comparable course. There's the Houston Open again, back again on a different track, but somewhat comparable. The Honda, that's a while back, but it is a par 70. It is Bermuda, 70. I think it's like 7,200, 7,100 yards. Sanderson Farms, boy, I didn't think he'd been playing that long, but he has. So he's got a little, you know, he's been on a tour for a bit. There's a Rocket Mortgage. So again, bare min price, but you know, I don't mind him. So someone that you could think about. Trey Mullinax, this just is going to go back to, you know, what does he do very well? He's got some pop off the bat. Even Borgoon, you can see he's got some pop off the bat. He's, you know, pretty decent in my model. He's been making, you know, and he's also, you know, he had it. What really kind of brought my attention to him was his T4. He had a pretty good showing at the Corn Ferry, getting his card back. And, I just like what he did at Sanderson Farms, knowing that he can leverage that driver. You can also what is showing is that he's gaining quite a bit in windy conditions. I would have to guess that's due to his length, and you can see that's what he does. He's long and pretty accurate. If he's got these kind of numbers off the tee, he's also hitting fairways. It's just everything else can be a little wishy. Um, so that's a lot of Corn Ferry. So that's also interesting, right? So a couple of his best finishes ever on the PGA Tour, and I bet this guy, I think it was 150 to 1, um, is at the two best comparable courses under my own guidance and my own thoughts. That's what I think are the two best comparable. It's also Valspar, funny enough. That's 2018. So on some big boy courses that are very comparable, he's done pretty well. And like I said, you could pretty much consider him a Corn Ferry Tour rookie, but you know, someone that you could look at. I already mentioned Keith Mitchell and went over him. I just put him back in here just in case you didn't see yesterday's show of my top plays. I think he's a great play here. If you want to know why, you can see crazy with the birdies, pretty good recent results at a T6 at this event, but not this course. But go check out my other show and you get more information on Keith Mitchell. The Duffster, Jason Duffner. He's been playing some decent golf. When I think of Duffner, just elite with the long irons, woods from long distances. So that's positive. You can see, kind of a mixed bag of results at this actual event. He missed the cut last year. And we'll go click on him for you real quick just so you can see. I mean, could be a very bad putter, and you can see that represented here. But Bermuda is his worst best surface. Can handle himself in the wind. You can see tee to green over his career, pretty elite. It's just the putter has failed him. But if the putter pops, what you see at a couple in the green here, he had a 24th, a 28th. When I say pop, just don't be missing 3-footers left and right. Also, I'll click on this for you. You see, he won the Memorial. He won the PGA way back. Had a lot of success back in the 2012, 2013. So he's been around the block. I'm trying to look for like more recent. Let me go click on date. I just see some of his best finishes. I mean, his best finish was the John Deere back in July. Just trying to see the Memorial. He had a 37th. Just trying to see when the last time he's cracked a top 10. It would have been back 2019 at Memorial, also Wells Fargo. So it looks like his game kind of came together. But again, big boy courses. So, again, we're pulling at straws a little bit here, right? But at 6,300, he's getting a little bit of ownership look. I mean, down at this rate. So people are seeing what I'm seeing, that, he's been playing pretty decent golf. And this is kind of a course that could fit him. It's just, what is that putter going to do? Sahith Theegala, he's only on here because of what he did at Sanderson Farms, to be honest, right? Another Corn Ferry guy. I think at one time was leading that tournament. I think like round 2 or round 3. This is when watching golf too much can get you. Is when I think of Sahith, I watched him, and this, once he started to get some coverage, and all of a sudden he just started snap hooking his driver. And I was just like, oh, that just gets me nervous when I see a guy on tour that can all of a sudden just start to lose the driver. Like I said, who knows? It could have been just a freak accident, but he was, if I remember right, and maybe I'm going the opposite, but I think he was like aiming way out to the right, waiting for that thing to snap back. And maybe he was slicing it, but I think it was a hook. Anyways, you can see what information we do have on him. Okay, putter. I'll just put it that way. Maybe not so good in the wind, but again, that could be like 1 or 2. I just want to see how much. Yeah, we don't have a lot of data for him, so it's going to get skewed quite a bit. So already had a good Corn Ferry, then came out, had a good showing at Sanderson Farms. He had a 14th at 4 net, Safeway, the Barbasol, Memorial. So when he has, played on the PGA Tour recently, it's been okay. So again, someone that you might want to take a flyer on. Dylan Fratelli, I know his game, and he has really worked on, and I think I mentioned this before, worked with Bryson DeChambeau and kind of, the guys that he trains with, really gained a lot of distance, right? He popped up on our radar again um, at the Masters. This would have been the Masters that DJ won. So that kind of like what I've been, into 2020. He is a local to Texas. I believe Austin, Texas, to be specific. And he won the John Deere. Just went in Fuego with the irons and putter. Yeah. So the John Deere back in 2019. And there's that Masters I talked about. He also, yeah, he showed up. He's kind of like an anomaly. He'll just all of a sudden out of nowhere, literally out of nowhere, just be like boom in some big events, right? So the Masters, the Open. I mentioned the Sanderson Farms. He did well, and good showing at the Honda. That's a while ago. Arnold Palmer not too long ago at Bay Hill. Valero back 2018. So all I'm saying is he could catch fire, and he's got the one thing here that can help you, and that's the distance off the tee. And then I've seen him, maybe not over the last few tournaments, but he can have really good irons, and like everybody, he can get hot with the putters. So 6,600, low ownership, could be a sneaky play down here because you want to plug him in. If you're doing a lot of lineups, again, that's always say this: if you're doing a crap load of lineups, and yeah, you're going to want to kind of differentiate your lower guys. That's what's going to get you to the top if they pop. But if you're doing 5 lineups, then of course you're probably going to want to be very picky and go with the guys that you feel very comfortable in a lower range that's going to get you to the weekend. And I wouldn't put that as Dylan Fratelli. And Nate Lashley, I talked to him about quite a bit. Like I said, I'm always keeping an eye on him. I knew this from, we looked at this for his last tournament. He did make the cut. Or no, he did not make the cut to Mayakoba. I take that back. He was making cuts. Had a good showing at Sanderson Farms. The guy can get very elite, usually pretty solid. He's good on Bermuda typically, and he's pretty solid off the tee. And it's the irons that excite me. You can see the putter, it's pretty good. It's been a while. I want to go look. I don't see here. Let's go look at his last. So the U.S. Open, he was really good with the irons. How much he gained? The Amex, the Rocket Mortgage, of course, where he won back in 2019. But yeah, like I said, and maybe it's just a freak occurrence. Let's go see where he's done his best work. Right, he had that. He was up there, either tied for the lead at AT&T Pro-Am at Pebble Beach, which I would not make that a good comparable. I'm just stating. There's that Sanderson Farms back in October here recently. Again, Sanderson Farms. So, Rocket Mortgage and Sanderson Farms, tree-lined, older course. Could be someone that you might want to sneak in. Peter Uihlein, I'm interested in, and I'm not usually a very Peter Uihlein kind of guy, but he's been putting together some good golf. He's played here a few times, which is crazy to me. I mean, this must have been sponsor exemption or amateur status. Right, his dad is, I don't know what, CEO of Titleist or something like that. He's been showing up at the birdies. He's just kind of been, keeps sticking his head in there, and maybe he's found something. This was also what interests me. He gains on Bermuda. If it gets windy, it doesn't look very good. What we need here, I mentioned this. Now, I know I've emphasized off the tee, but it's shocking down here that you find guys that are really good around the green with the putter and off the tee. Let's go see where he's done. So the Memorial, I'm just trying to look for comparables. There's Sanderson Farms. I mentioned way back 2014. The Memorial, where else? Anything else? So a couple Texas events. Excuse me. Charles Schwab, right at Colonial. He's shown up both times, so something about that track he likes. Corrales, Sanderson Farms again. He showed up. So yeah, I mean, I like Peter Uihlein this week, and I don't think I have ever picked Peter Uihlein, but I'm kind of interested. There's Roger Sloan. If you want, go watch his presser. I mean, you're not gonna learn a ton. I already gave you the information. The information is he actually has never played in this event. It says cut, so maybe I don't know. That's interesting because how he stated it was he came out and did the prep work, but did not actually make it in the tournament, but he must have. Um, but he's kind of had on and off. This T14 for Sanderson Farms is what got me kind of interested. Let's go take a look at Mr. Sloan. And also that he's local. That stuff comes back, man. I mean, there is something about sleeping in your bed, eating your food. Um, it is a difference. Could be a little bit of a difference. I've also seen it go the other way, so don't get me wrong. All right. So he had that Wyndham opportunity here recently. I think he just snuck in to the FedEx Cup. I believe I think he made the first FedEx Cup. I think he made the top 125. Sanderson Farms, the 3M. There's the Rocket Mortgage. He showed up, which, I think is a decent. Arnold Palmer, that's a while ago. The Honda, Sanderson Farms again. The Palmetto back this summer. So, someone that you want to think about. Wyndham Clark, he's in here because of two things, right? Elite with a driver, and he is a pretty good putter. He's also been making some cuts recently. He was really bad for a while. Let's pull him up. So you see Poa is his best, but he does gain a little bit in Bermuda. His last good showing, where is it at? The Genesis, was that it? I was thinking the coastal courses, but I thought they were somewhere else. But anyways, so the Genesis at Riviera, he showed the Honda, the Rocket a long time ago, Sanderson Farms a long time ago. Just trying to see if any other comparables. Valspar, I mean, I don't know about 37th. Okay, yeah. Like I said, I just someone that I'm pointing out. What low? The guy that I really like, and I don't know if this is a pure gut thing or what is going on in my brain. Brandon Hagee, I am I am excited about playing. I bet him. I think he's like 250 to 1, to win. I also bet him in a top 10. I like, of course, that he's doing this, but Brandon Hagee's just been like popping up now, and I don't know. I guess if you don't watch golf a lot, if you just saw this guy, he doesn't look like he can smoke the ball off the tee, but the guy is elite off the tee. You can see driving distance number 4 on this whole field, and we've got some long hitters in this field. He's good at his proximity, so he's good at two things comparative to the field. The rest is nothing to write home about. Let's go look. So he does gain on bent, Bermuda. So he's not a bad putter. You see off the tee, elite, putting kind of it's the irons. So it looks like if his irons fire, he goes. And maybe this keeps sticking in my brain. He went out and, in very tough conditions at PGA National, the Honda, had a really nice 4 days and almost won that thing, right? That's Matt Jones pulled it out. I think Matt, shot like some ridiculous Thursday round and just kept it going. But under those conditions on that course, it was just impressive. He's also got the Rocket Mortgage, Sanderson Farms a while ago, Valero, not too long ago, right? That was just in the spring. I don't know, man. Everything is telling me. So I hope like heck I'm right on this one. This is my little bit of the golf guru gut call and just some things I've been seeing. The model doesn't scream it, but I'm telling you, I'm playing him in DFS, and I'm also betting him. I like him. So duly note that, and I apologize if he misses the cut by 20 strokes, but that's the guy that I like down here. And then last but not least, Harry Higgs, right? Been playing good golf, good recent form. Played here once, and he missed a cut the previous. The model's not saying anything that's too fabulous, but he's getting results. I'd say, getting a couple eagles, chipping in. He does gain on Bermuda. Shows here he can gain in the wind. I don't know if Big Rig Higgs actually is from Texas. He seems like he's from Texas, but I don't know that for sure, and I'm not going to take the moment to pull it off. So let's go look at where he's done. I know, I think it was I'm trying to think of the tournament. So the Safeway, I remember that. That was Stuart Sink when he won. The Bermuda, nothing really. So the PGA here at Kiawah Island, right? It is a par 72 Bermuda. And that's that course, if you remember right, that's like almost 7,900 yards. And remember, if you think about what does Phil do really well, right? Is putt or bang the ball. He can smoke it, and also was hitting fairways then and putting. So of course he won. But the Harry Higgs literally ended up coming in second is impressive, especially when you had Louis and Koepka right there. Or I'm sorry, fourth. I take that back. Um, but yeah, I think his game suits. Of course, he was on my opening screen, kind of like a Brandon Hagee. I like Big Rig Higgs here for this tournament. Trying to see anything else that I can sell you guys on from comparable course side that would tell you. I mean, Arnold Palmer, that's a while ago, and that's not that great. Um, he's been just playing pretty good golf recently. I mean, the Wyndham is definitely not a comparable course, but he had this Northern Trust, which is a FedEx Cup event. He showed up. The Honda, he had a 19th. I'm just trying to look at recent stuff. The CJ Cup. No, I'm blanking. Yeah, that was at the Summit Club. That was a pretty easy course. I would not sit there and compare, but I like him. All right, let's get out of here and let's go look at ownership. Okay, so now we're looking at projected ownership, and just so you know how this works, and within Fantasy National, you can generate mass multi lineups. You can pick favorite players. This is the number that I always kind of look at. It's actually who actually created lineups as the guys that we want, because people will click favorites on and off, and that doesn't really tell you anything. And then this is the number we want to look at over here. And I'll state within a couple percentage points up or down. It typically comes in pretty close to what DraftKings will show once it's all said and done. And no shocker, Sam Burns is the highest, chalkiest guy. Gooch, my three guys that I think if you're watching golf and been betting golf and DFS, this isn't rocket science at those guys. HV3, I talked about him. I think he's a great play. He's in my top 15. Sungjae M was not my top 15. No reason why, to be specific. Like I said, I mean, it was just making a decision. You can't play everybody up there. He's had a break. It's, for Sungjae M, this has been a break. I'm guessing might have a little rust. So, that's it. Matthew Wolf, everybody's seeing, what's happening. Like I said, out of all my picks, he's the one I'm most nervous about because I'm just not sure if he's trying to hit the drive or what's going to happen there. Cam Smith, I'm all over Cam Smith, and Leishman. I like the Australian guys. So those are like, your top owned guys. Koepka, he showed up good here. I already mentioned, which I haven't heard a lot of the other guys talk about that, he helped, give his influence on designing this course. So he should know it as good as anyone or better. I think Shane Lowry is a good play. I didn't pick him, but is my top 15, but I am going to play him a little bit. Just I've seen, his game seems like it lends well for tough tracks and tough environments. And I'm not saying the environment's gonna be that tough, but he can play tough tracks pretty well. Trying to see if anyone else. McNeely, like I said, he's been scoring well from a fantasy perspective. I just don't picture McNeely on a tough, longer track, short par 70 to do that well. And maybe I'm going to be, because maybe I'm so skewed to what he's done on the West Coast at Pebble Beach and stuff like that. All right, let's go. So you can kind of see ownership. I'm just going to scroll down. There's Leishman at 12% ownership. There's my Luke List almost at 12, so other people are on him. I'm kind of shocked. I mean, the model says Mito Pereira, but his around the green putter, and I picked him just hoping that his putter and around the green is not a disaster, because I think as everybody, like a Corey Connors, if the putter does work, he's going to be top 5. I mean, he just needs the putt. There's my Johnny Vegas. I like him quite a bit. Mackenzie Hughes, what does he do? Very elite. He's good around the greens, good with the putter. And has showed up, funny enough, at some tough tracks, so this is not a terrible play. And of course, you got the locals, Palmer and Scheffler. Charlie Hoffman, one of my picks. The same with Scheffler. Hoffman had a good Texas swing, does well at the Valero over and over and over. So I think people, see that. I think people think like Taylor Pentrith, the driver, Keith Mitchell, of course, a good pick of mine. There's the Duff Daddy. It's kind of funny. You can see Tyrrell Hatton. I think everybody, it's just at that price tag, it's hard to pay. So he's got low ownership. So he'd be a pivot, if he goes off, but he just Hasn't been playing that good at golf. Same with Patrick Reed. I think Gary Woodland at 7,600 is a good play, a good pivot. Now I didn't pick him, but I, this could be a Gary Woodland, top 15 kind of finish kind of course. Kokrak, I'm just totally off on. And I think people keep thinking, I've said this, he hasn't had his best results on big, long, tough courses. He's had better results on shorter, plotter courses. Also, his driver's been a little wayward. So I'm a bit off that. Lanto Griffin, that's kind of funny that, it's got to be just because he's won this event 2 years ago, not on this course. But I don't think his game has been at 8,100. I mean, Tringali versus Lanto, right? These guys used to always be together like Burns and Gooch from a pricing standpoint, and also similar to how they would play at times. I would take Tringali without even a thought over Lanto right now. We'll see how that all plays out, but I think Tringali is a better player. Max Homa, I think that's a sneaky play. He was one of my top 15 picks. Now, with Max, it's either boom or bust. So it's either top 10 or he's missing the cut. So hopefully we get the Max that just putts okay. I'm not worried about tee to green. It's just a putter. Anything else I think is interesting? There's Hoagie Higgs, just so you can see where the ownership. I think I went over that, but Straka at 5%. People are, some people are seeing some things that I see with Straka here. There's my Borgoon if you want, a differentiation, less than 3%. There's my Hagee. I hope that happens. Cross your fingers. Hope I get that one right. There's my Nate Lashley. Molinex, less than 1% owned. Could be, like I said, Fratelli. A couple guys that you might want to think about. Uline, Neesmith. And that's it. I think that's enough on ownership projections. Oh, wait a minute. What did I just see here? Kevin Streelman. Let's go talk about Kevin Streelman just real quick because he was my fill-in. I state this again for Ortiz. Can handle himself in the wind. And what people maybe don't know about Kevin Streelman, because he does not also look like he can bang the ball off the tee. The guy's got some distance. Let's see what he's done. Not a whole lot recently. Just trying to see where he's had some success. Sanderson Farms, not too long ago. Valero, Wells Fargo. That's so far. That's I'm not going to count that. Strike that. That's like Arnold Palmer, way long ago. Valero, 2018. I was just curious, but he can poke it over 300 yards. I don't know. I think he could be an interesting play at that price tag, and you can see really low ownership. Okay, let's go real quick. Talk about wind and weather. So again, you're going to want a wind finder, especially if you're doing showdown. Keep an eye on that before you're putting in your plays. You're going to want to pick Piney Point Village in Houston. This was the closest to the course, and it's close. It's within a few miles of that. We're going to want to look at Thursday, of course. And you're going to see here that what is stating, I'm going to refresh this just to make sure nothing's changed here. That is interesting. So it's actually changed. No, that's the same. So they're going to have some strong winds at night, it's saying. It's going to roll in a little bit into the morning, but they're going to have a little wind, maybe possibly a little rain in the morning. But, I wouldn't say, fade the guys in the morning by any stretch. You already saw kind of what I'm picking from PrizePicks, but something to look at there. I think this is interesting. Again, the wind's kicking up. I don't know why at nighttime, but it is. So usually you always think morning, afternoon, but what it's showing here right now is that actually the morning could be a problem on Saturday. Maybe it kicks up a little bit in the afternoon on Friday, and then you'll see this if this works out this way. Possibly some wins in the afternoon when the finishing holes for the tournament. So keep an eye on that. Again, I only point this out as this is where you want to go to. I just saved you some time of figuring out if you're using Wind Finder to put some stuff together where you want to go. And I'll just pull up real quick. This was the leaderboard from last year. funny enough, and I wanted to just show this. I mentioned for Prize Picks that only 15 guys shot under a 69 or shot at 68 or better. There's my Kevin Streelman. Funny enough, he missed a cut, but he shot a 68 first day and then just had a bad second round. Snedeker led. You had Ortiz, Day. I didn't mention anything about Jason Day. I did in my top plays show, so check that out if you want to know what I think about Day for here. There's HV3. Michael Thomas been playing good golf. I don't know if he's actually in this field. I did not notice him. Scotty Scheffler, Cam Davis, the Gooch. That's funny. He ended up shooting 15 over after shooting a 67 the first day. There's my Straka, shot a 68. Burns, 68. Adam Long, funny enough, I was on him for the island swing, but didn't come through. All right, that's enough. Let's go talk about, I'll tell you my top 5 picks from the value plays and get you guys out of here. Okay, so my top 5 value plays out of the guys we just went through, which was 18 different players, 7,000 below. Number 1, Straka. He's very hit or miss. We saw what he could do at the Olympics. He's shown that he's getting a little better lately from a recent form perspective. Has a good track record in this event and on this course. It's got the distance. He's going to need the putter. So I like Straka. I like Luke List. Again, he's out for me down at this price tag. I think he's a safer play. Right? Luke, for a bit there, I think it was around the John Deere, was looking like he was going to get a win. And then he kind of digressed. So, again, I like him here. He shows up on big courses. It's the putter. But tee to green, he's, good to go. Peter Uihlein, I already mentioned, never picked him in my entire life, but I've liked what I've been seeing. I like that he's got the distance and could be a sneakier kind of pivot play down here. Big Rig Higgs, I just think that his game suits this course. He's not super long off the tee, even though he's a big boy. But, his driver is an asset. And when the putter gets going, he can do some damage and pretty good with the irons. And last but not least, I already mentioned Brandon Hagee, kind of the Dylan Fratelli doppelganger. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it'd be Fratelli and not Hagee, but I'm all over Hagee from a DFS perspective, a betting perspective. Why not? I like to take some long shots, and he is my long shot. So that's my top 5 guys that I'll be putting in my lineups for DFS large GPP and hoping that they get me 6 of 6 and hopefully maybe top 25 or better. All right, guys, that's it. That's all my shows for the Houston Open. Wishing you nothing but success and that you have 6 of 6 lineups going in. And if you do me the honor, click that like button. It helps me out quite a bit. It just gives me feedback that, hey, you like what I'm doing. Share with anybody else that you think, if you know someone else that is going to get into DFS golf or has not found me yet, let them know. And subscribe if you've not subscribed. Again, I'm still trying to get over that hurdle. So every person that watches this, if you made it this far, I would greatly appreciate you subscribing. You'll get, and turn on the notification. You'll get updates, and I put out 3 shows a week. And now we're back, we got one more. I believe that's RSM and Sea Island, and then we're on a break for a while. So, let's go out with a bang here. Last but not least, follow me on Twitter, and anything that I find out, I will let you guys know to make sure that you know as soon as I do. All right, guys, best of luck. Talk to you guys Monday. Have a great weekend.